and cats and tea. That's all I've ever wanted. I don't know how to start this, but I am officially joining BookTok or BookTube. Before you unsubscribe, I will still be posting spiritual videos, crystals, day in the life, vlogs, OnlyFans, financial, everything, but another subcategory just to screw up my algorithm even more. Don't touch that, Luna. Come here. Is book videos. I usually make one book video a year, and that is my yearly wrap up of books that I've read that year. But I have been reading so much more this year. I've really fallen in love with book trends and book releases and more popularity in fiction trends. I used to be primarily a more classic literature, self-improvement, textbook boring reader, and I've stopped judging the fun books and realized that there's a reason why people love to read them. So the last couple of weeks and months, I've gone on a little book bender. I'm currently on a book buying ban because I have bought so many books, but I want to do a full what is on my current TBR, all of the physical books that I bought that are right now on my TBR list. I have about 40. Not like you'll be able to see them, but oh my God. Luna, are you listening? All right, ladies, careful. I have about 40 books in front of me that I recently bought, and I want to share them with you. I don't know where to start with this video. I think I'm going to do another like welcome to booktube book tag video just to kind of like go over my reading, my rating system, my 5-star, 6-star reads, my preferences, whatever. But I just wanted to do like a full TBR list book haul to start with, because yeah, this is what I'm really passionate about lately. And I recently started a book Instagram as well. It's called Booking It with Mac. Okay, you're gonna mess up the autofocus. Get down. It's called Booking It with Mac, and I'm having so much fun over there sharing all the books that I'm reading and making book reels and all of that. So definitely follow me on my new book Instagram. I've been making a lot more book content on TikTok as well, and of course here on YouTube. I will link my new, oh my God, I will link my new book Instagram as well as my Goodreads down below, and then all of the books that I'm mentioning will also be on an Amazon list down below as well if you want to just add them to your cart real quick. But I'll share where I bought most of these books as well, because I am always looking for a good book deal. I feel like that's a little bit of an intro on how I want to join BookTube and make more book content. If you have any video recommendations, please let me know. I still am doing all of the other content that I like to make. I just want to integrate more book videos because this is what I am really passionate about right now. I've always been a big reader, so why aren't I doing this? I do have like a book playlist. I have yearly wrap-ups for all of the books that I've read on this channel since I think like 2015, 16, 17. Like there's a book yearly video for all of that, and I know I get comments on those videos saying they want more videos on books. I just never really knew what that could entail until I discovered BookTube, and I really dove head in, and now I watch all of these BookTube creators, and I had FOMO, and I had this new spark of inspiration that I just wanted to make more videos about books, and I didn't realize how much I enjoyed watching them and how many other people also enjoyed watching them. I always thought it might be boring if I talked about books, but as a content consumer, I realized that's the only type of videos I really want to watch right now. So my name's Makayla. I'm 28 years old. I live in Minneapolis. I am a huge reader. I actually have degrees in English creative writing with a focus in poetry. I'm published mostly personal essays and poetry, but writing has always been like my biggest passion and strength, I believe, and I'm a huge reader. I'll do like a full book tag to talk about some of my favorite authors, books, 5-star reads, 6-star reads, 1-star reads, likes and dislikes. I don't know. We'll do one of those next. But for today, I have every single book that I've recently purchased that is currently on my TBR to be read list, and I want to share them with you. The one thing I ask is that you please do not spoil any of these books for me. I am trusting you, but if you want to leave a thought or a review on a book without spoiling it, that's fine. Yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books or what you're currently reading. I have them kind of sectioned off by trips, like which ones I bought first. The first big chunk of books that I purchased was in September. Look at this pile. So this was the first TBR pile that I had before I kept buying books. I have a good wide variety, I think, of romance, fiction, literary fiction, memoirs, spiritual self-help. So there is quite the diversity here. They're kind of in the order that I bought them. That's how I categorize That's my cat playing. As you can tell, my cats are like everywhere. Right now, they're just organized by when I bought them, so they're kind of scattered. So in no particular order beyond when I bought them. Starting at Half Price Books back in September, I picked up Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. I've heard really good things about this from my friends. From the back of the book, it seems like it's about a woman and her babysitter who is confronted while watching their toddler in the aisle of a supermarket. The store security guard, seeing a young black woman out late with a white child, accuses Amira of kidnapping. That's all that the back kind of tells you, but it sounds like it's going to be kind of like these two women's perspectives, journeys, and deal a lot with race and privilege and all of that. I assume, I really don't know, but I'm really excited to read this. I've had some friends say that they really enjoyed it, and anything with the Reese's Book Club I tend to enjoy recently. I feel like stories like these are really important, so I'm really excited to read this soon. And then I also picked up 2 Colleen Hoover books. Now I will say I was a really big Colleen Hoover hater when I tried the first book that I read by her, which was It Ends With Us, and I thought it was trash. I'm so sorry. I know people really love that book, but when I read it, I was so confused because our protagonist is writing letters to Ellen and talking about Dory, and my 14-year-old self probably would have loved it, but when I was 27, I really did not enjoy it. I'm glad that I gave Ugly Love Reminders of Him a chance because I did enjoy those books more. So to me, Colleen Hoover books are palate cleansers. They're nice little easy reads to get me back into reading when I don't really need my brain to think, because sometimes it's nice to not need to think while you read and just have like an easy love story. I understand why people love her. I also understand why people don't like her, but to me, she is my easy reading palate cleanser. That being said, I have November 9th. I want to read this month in November just for the vibes. I don't know anything about what it's about. I just know the date. Actually, I think it has to do with meeting on November 9th, the same date every year. I don't really like knowing much about Colleen Hoover books. I like going into them blindly. And if I can, I'll buy these used or at Half Price Books because I don't really want to buy them full price when I know what these books are like. So these are still all from Half Price Books. I also got Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. This one is honestly a bit bigger than most of her reads. Morgan Grant and her 16-year-old daughter Clara would like nothing more than to be nothing alike. Morgan is determined to prevent her daughter from making the same mistakes she did. And of course, there is a boy that Clara is forbidden from seeing, but I'm sure that she will see him. Okay, the next 3 books I did get off of Amazon. I think I made a Reels or TikTok about it where I had to buy like one boring thing off of Amazon, so I used it as an excuse to buy some books. But I am also queer, if you're new here and did not know, and finding sapphic or women-loving women queer novels that aren't unbearably stereotypical, cringy, or written by a straight person is so hard to find, like something that's well done. And I should do a whole video on like my favorite sapphic reads because there are amazing ones. Of course, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is like top tier. Everything is compared to that. Besides that, I'm always trying to find really good sapphic reads that of course aren't cringy or bad. So I got a couple more of those, starting with She Gets the Girl. This was actually written by the same authors, co-authors as 5 Feet Apart. I didn't read the book, but I did love that movie. I think this is relatively a new release. Yeah, 2022. So it came out just last year. I love the cover, all of the vines and the text. It has texture, like it comes off the cover so you can feel it. She Gets the Girl. We love an inclusive sapphic stories. It seems like we have a pair, Alex Blackwood, who is a bit headstrong, chaos, and a little bit of a flirt, and then Molly Parker, who is very in control. She knows she's in love with the impossibly cool Cora Myers. She just hasn't actually talked to her yet. Alex and Molly don't belong on the same planet, let alone the same college campus. Alex volunteers to help Molly learn how to get her dream girl to fall in love with her. She can prove to her ex that she's not a selfish flirt. I have a feeling they're gonna fall in love with each other, but it takes place on a college campus, and I'll let you know how this one is. On the same subject as sapphic romance fiction, I have The Falling in Love Montage by Sierra Smith. This sounds like it's gonna be a Hallmark romancy book. Oh, I don't know how to say this name, but it's the same name as the girl, the actress. I don't know how to say her name, I'm so sorry. She doesn't believe in love at first sight or happy endings, but when she meets mischievous Ruby, her no relationships rule goes right out the window because Ruby has a loophole in mind, a summer of all the best cliche rom-com dates with a definite ending come fall. No messy breakup, no broken hearts. It would be the perfect plan if they weren't forgetting one thing about the falling in love montage. When it's over, the characters have fallen in love for real. So I feel like it's that classic trope of like, we're gonna do all of the typical rom-com-y dates and try not to fall in love, and I bet they do, and it gets kind of messy, and the lines probably blur from when they're faking it to like actually having feelings. I try to really go into these sapphic fiction romance books open-minded because it's such a niche category that doesn't have a lot of representation, especially to femmes in sapphic reads, and that's like what I'm kind of looking for. So any story that is like published and like declared 3 stars or above in my rating system, I'm happy with. I really wanted to read this in fall. Doesn't this look like the best fall read? It's November 1st, so I guess I technically still could. I spent most of October creating my book Instagram page and getting everything ready to become a book creator, so I didn't have as much time to read because I wanted to catch up first. I will still read that this fall. Next, I think I also got this, no, I got this on Amazon. I've been wanting to read this for years. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid, and that is Daisy Jones and the Six. I've heard that some people either love it or hate it because it's kind of written in like an interview style, but I love everything that Taylor Jenkins Reid has published. I've read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, Carrie Soto is back, Maybe in Another Life. Is that it? That might actually be it. This is a classic, and it's also a series, I believe, on Hulu, so I do want to check it out. I'm really excited for this one. This next book I got at a thrift store, I believe, and that is Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. This is a classic. I love the story Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I have been looking for a good vintage edition of it. I believe this edition was published in 1980s, so this is an 80s edition book of it, and I just love it so much. I really have always wanted to read the story, so I found this at a thrift store, and I think it's a beautiful edition and cover of it. This to me kind of screams like a December, January read. I can't explain it, but to me, I need to pair my books with times of the year that it just seems fitting to read in. So this will be a good winter read, and it seems like it'll be a quick 1 to 2 days read as well. Okay, these next 2 books I think I ordered on Amazon because I was too embarrassed to buy them anywhere else. One of my friends gave me shit for buying this book, but I have to see for myself, and that is The Notorious Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. A lot of people either rave about this book or they say the opposite about, I don't know. This one YouTuber that I keep up with, she read this not knowing what it entailed and posted on her story like, y'all are little freaks for reading this book. I just have to know. If I'm gonna give this like a valid review, I need to read it first. I need to see what it's about. I know it's gonna be steamy, but you know, sometimes I do really love a steamy read. At least now at this point, I kind of know what to expect going into these steamy romance fiction pieces. Like, I know it's not going to be a type of literature that I used to only read, but going into it knowing that and just appreciating it for what it is, we'll see, but I gotta know. I also am trying the Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, kind of on like the same niche category as Icebreaker and other spicy romance books. I actually don't know how spicy this one is, but I know Ali Hazelwood writes kind of like science-y tropes into her love stories. When a fake relationship between scientists meets the irresistible force of attraction, it throws one woman's carefully calculated theories on love into chaos. I've seen this book around, ow, my cat just bit my toe. I've seen this book around booktube and booktok and all of that a lot, and some people really like it. Some people say they're just not into the science part of it, so I just want to read it. I've recently learned that there are like trends to books. I guess I've always known that, you know, like Twilight, Harry Potter, Divergent, Hunger Games, like there's always a really trendy book that everyone's reading, and I used to not want to read a book when it was that trendy because everyone else was reading it. Like, I never read the Hunger Games for that very reason, but I feel like the book world and book trends and releases have just expanded so vastly since like the first early 2000s years, and for that very reason, like, I know who Taylor Jenkins Reid is, and I know who these top authors are, and it's like a whole new world has just exploded for me because I used to just be very into like nonfiction and like mostly like boring genres to a lot of readers, but I found a new love for like fun books now, and I'm realizing that there are these like authors that a lot of people know. I don't know. I feel like I sound like Kylie Jenner when she said that she realized a lot of things this year. It was just like a year of realizing things, but for me it really was. So another very popular book that I just have to see for myself is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I've seen this on my Amazon recommended tab for years now, and a lot of the book creators I watch love this book. One of them ranks this as like her favorite read ever. Told in alternating timelines between then and now, teenage Elliot and Macy grow from friends to much more, spending weekends and lazy summers together in a house outside San Francisco, devouring books, sharing favorite words, and talking through their growing pains and triumphs. As adults, they have become strangers to one another until their chance reunion. So it seems like a second chance of love fiction book. I feel like another reason why I want to read like Ali Hazelwood, Christina Lauren, Hannah Grace, and all of these like big authors in these subgenres is for me to figure out what authors and what style of writing I do enjoy, so that I can know for their other releases if I should try that book or not. Even though I am a very huge reader, I do feel like a new reader when it comes to more of these trending books and figuring out booktube and all of that. I think I got the next book from Target and then the book after that from Amazon, but Kara Hunter, Murder in the Family. This is a thriller I really wanted to read this fall, and I hope I still can. Like I said, October just slipped away from me because I was going into prep work and planning, and I didn't want to keep reading because I do read really fast. So I knew I'd fall behind if I kept reading, and I wanted to share this in my TBR, but it's a whole thing with how I organize content in my mind. But there's a review on the cover that says, an excellent, wholly original whodunit. You won't have read a mystery like this, and you'll be kept in the dark right until the end. One body, 6 experts. Can you solve the case before they do? I love a good whodunit murder mystery, and this one has a lot of like images, newspaper clippings. It looks like it's written in a really cool style. I'm really excited for this. No one saw the killer, but they all saw the body. I love mysteries like this too, because of course I love to try to play the game of trying to guess the ending. But yeah, I'll be reading this sooner rather than later and try to squeeze that into my fall reads. This next book I got off of Amazon. It is a new release and it's something that I'm really excited for. I also saw a writer that I follow on Instagram post it, so that was a big sign that I should get it, because the writer that I saw wrote Girls Can Kiss Now, and it was like a queer personal essays collection. So if she likes this, I'm excited. And that is Cleat Cute by Meryl Wilsner. Looks like it's gonna be a really cute sapphic soccer love story. Grace Henderson has been a star of the US women's national team for 10 years, but even though she's only 26. I feel like I see a lot of teenage, young adult, sapphic romance stories of like teenagers in high school, so it is really nice to find ones where they're closer to my age. Like she's 26 in this. Oh, never mind, because the love interest is 22. 22-year-old Phoebe is everything Grace isn't, so a classic opposites attract trope, I'm sure. Perfect blend of funny and steamy. Meryl Wilsner's Cleat Cute is about being brave enough to win on and off the field. I feel like a lot of these sapphic stories are not steamy enough because it is so hard to find that subcategory as well. Any like femme or sapphic love story in general, I am here to try, because I do want to rank and try to find the best ones in this very, very tiny category that doesn't get a lot of, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't get a lot of representation, because I feel like we have so many more now than like 5, 10, 20 years ago, obviously. So it is getting better, and I just want to devour the whole subgenre and read everything. I will say it's a lot better today than it has been in the past. These next 2 hardcovers I found at a thrift store for $1.99 each, which is insane because both of these books are $30 brand new, and I probably would never buy them brand new, but because I saw them at the thrift store, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get them. That is Hannah Brown's God Bless This Mess. Hannah Brown was on the Bachelor franchise. She became the Bachelorette, and now she is engaged to a man not part of the franchise, but she was definitely a fan favorite. I am very curious to read her memoir. I definitely am curious to hear about her experience on reality TV. She's got like a lot of photos in here as well, which I love when memoirs include. It'll be a really fun read. Memoirs is one of my favorite categories to read. There's just something about hearing of somebody's life that I feel like is super inspiring to my own and helps me realize how much I can still do with my own life. So I'm very excited to read God Bless This Mess. To me, this sounds like a winter read as well. So I'll probably read that in like February, I'm predicting. And then this next one has been in my Amazon Save for Later cart or list for a while, like a couple of years at least. That is In Pieces by Sally Field. I actually have no idea what this is about, but the fact that I've been wanting to read it and buy it for years was enough for me to see it at the thrift store and be like, oh my God, I need this. In this intimate, haunting memoir, an American icon tells her story for the first time, opening up about a challenging and lonely childhood, the craft that helped her find her voice, and a powerful emotional legacy that has helped shape her journey as a daughter and mother. I do love a good like challenging childhood to success stories, and I don't really know exactly who Sally Field is, but 5 decades in Hollywood, I'm sure I'll recognize who she's played or what she's been in. Yeah, love a good memoir. Cannot wait to read this. That was my first TBR pile, probably where I should have stopped, but I kept buying more books, and the sun is about to hit the spot that I'm filming, so it's getting like super overexposed. Yeah, the sun is moving in, so I don't know what to do about that. My camera is so hot because it's in the sun. Just until the sun moves, I moved you closer because my camera was about to overheat. Let's see, which pile was next? Then I have my next smaller TBR list from Target and Barnes & Noble. I was looking for one book for my book club because I'm in a book club with friends, so I did have to buy one book, and this is the result of me needing to buy one book. So at Target, they had a buy one, get one 50% off and then 20% off most of their books, and I have a Target Red card, which gives me an additional 5% off. So overall, I'm gonna buy books. And I bought Taylor Jenkins Reid Forever Interrupted. This was half off because of what I bought, so might as well. I want to read all of her books eventually, so might as well get this one. I'm a little bit nervous for this read though because it looks really sad. The back of the book I feel like gives away so much, but maybe not. Basically, she like meets someone and really quickly elopes, falls in love with this person, and then 9 days later he is biking, hit by a truck, and killed on impact. It might be more of a grieving and healing story, and I'm a little bit nervous for that because as someone with like severe anxiety, whenever somebody's not home, I always have that fear. You know, if someone's driving or if somebody is like 5 minutes late than when they said they're going to arrive home, even since I was a little kid, I'd like have that fear. So I'm a little bit nervous for this one, and it sounds like it's going to make me sob my eyes out, but I do love the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid writes, so I'm very excited to read this book. It just seems sad. Forever Interrupted, like, we'll see. I've heard really great things about this next book, and it was only like $8 at Target on sale, so I was like, I have to get this. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So some of the book content creators that I watch really enjoyed this read, and this felt like an October book I had to buy. It's a New York Times bestseller, the perfect nail-biting mystery. Like I said, I love a good mystery read because I want to try to predict the ending, but I don't want to be right. Well, part of me does want to predict it and be right, but I also want to be surprised still. Pretty and popular high school senior Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about, and 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for a project, at first just to cast doubt on the original investigation, but soon she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sal, her boyfriend, innocent, and the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, and now her own life might be in danger. This sounds like the perfect escape book where I can just escape my reality for a little bit. I'm really excited to read that. Okay, this next book I really wanted to read before Halloween because it just felt like such a good, funny, light read, and now that it's November, I hope I don't wait until next fall for this one, but I wanted to really get into the spooky season this year, so I got My Roommate is a Vampire. It just seemed like an easy little unique love story. True love is at stake in this charming debut romantic comedy. I love a good Halloween book that isn't scary. Thrillers are good, but like Gillian Flynn, for example, her books terrified me. Dark Places. I lived with my parents and I was afraid to read that book, so I love a good like murder mystery that's not scary, or a Halloween spooky book that isn't scary because I live alone. I don't want to be scared. I recently read one that was like perfect, where it had like magical realism, but it wasn't scary. So the fact that this is a romantic comedy but vampire, I'm down. I'm down. I think I got these next two at Barnes & Noble for the buy one get one 50% off, but Taylor Jenkins Reid, One True Loves. I bought this because it's going to be a movie soon, so I wanted to read it before the movie came out so that I could see the movie. Also, when is Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo coming out? It was signed to Netflix. Please tell me it's still happening eventually. Yeah, One True Loves though. Breathtaking new love story about a woman unexpectedly forced to choose between the husband she has long thought dead and the fiance who has finally brought her back to life. It kind of reminds me of Castaway. If you saw that film, classic 90s movie. He comes back after being missing for like 7 years, I think, and his fiance was married with a baby. Oh, that movie just makes me cry. So Emma has like moved on, gotten engaged, and then her missing husband is found alive and she doesn't know who to pick. Seems like this is gonna be really good and I'll probably cry. Taylor Jenkins Reid, the way that she writes, she has the ability to make me cry, and I'm not that sensitive when I read books. Like, I really don't cry that much, but Taylor Jenkins Reid, she'll get me to cry. This next book, a lot of people have said was so good. I have high expectations, and maybe I shouldn't, because a lot of people said It Ends With Us was good and I thought that book was awful. But The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Porton, what's her last name? The sticker's covering it. Ashley Poston. This has a little bit of time travel. I think it's like a magical apartment that she moves into. Yeah, she moves into her aunt's apartment. Like, a man from the past is there. 7 years in the past, but she lives in the future. Her aunt always said the apartment was a pinch in time, a place where moments blended like watercolors. So it might have a little bit of magical realism, and this just looks like a fall book. And I hate that fall is almost over, but I can definitely still read this going into November. So I'm really excited to give this a try. I've heard wonderful things. This next book from Target is a special edition of one of my favorite reads, and a book that I recently was thinking, you know, I should reread that because that book changed my life. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know exactly what I'm about to say. That is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. This book shifted my whole life for me. The lessons that I learned in this, the techniques to manifest, the reminders of like the universe and how much control I have and lack thereof. I have completely devoured my copy of this book. It's annotated, highlighted, bookmarked, underlined, written in, like it is loved. And so when I saw that this was the ultimate collector's edition with a new chapter, I was like, I have to get it. This has got to go on the bookshelf in my office. And it's been almost 4 years since I read that book. So I have been thinking I should reread it and just remind myself of the magic there. And maybe it will help me going into this new year, because when I read that in 2020, it completely changed that year for me. I know it was a really hard year, but I was able to protect myself and set myself up for success during a really hard time because of what I learned in this book. So I do want to reread it again and be reminded of these lessons and everything. This just looks like a really beautiful edition of it, and it was 20% off, so I had to. I'm gonna read this in January, like right after the new year, start my year off right with this. If you have not read any of Jen Sincero's books, oh my gosh, please give them a try. I've read every single one, including The Straight Girl's Guide to Sleeping with Chicks. That was a time. That book actually has really bad reviews because of the controversy of herself saying that she's straight but sleeping with women. Anyway, this next book I saw at Barnes & Noble and immediately it broke my heart, and I knew I had to get it, especially because there's also going to be an author signing coming up. And if you're from Minnesota, I guarantee you have definitely heard the story. If you have not, your parents have heard of the story. It is the story of Jacob Wetterling. His mom released a memoir called Dear Jacob. Back in the 80s, he went missing in Minnesota. My mom, I talked to her about it, and she says she still remembers that day because it was such a big story and it's so tragic, and it was only recently solved. I believe the person that took him confessed decades later, and it is so tragic. I don't want to ruin it for you, but the day that we learned the truth behind what happened to Jacob, it was definitely harder because everybody had hope up until then, and then to know how, I don't want to say too much, but basically she released a memoir about her son's story. It's gonna be a tough one, but it hits really close to home because it happened here and everyone knows this family and this story. And the fact that Patty Wetterling is coming to a Barnes & Noble near me in December next month, I want to read this before then. I want to go, I want to get it signed, I want to just hear her tell her story in real life. This is gonna be hard, but I do have to read this. I have a feeling I'll read this around Thanksgiving, just so it's fresh in my mind before the book signing. It'll be tough, but it's a story that needs to be shared, and I have to read it. This next book is for my book club in November. It is Bonnie Garmis's Lessons in Chemistry. I believe this is about to be a series or a movie, but yeah, this is the book that we're reading for book club. I honestly know nothing about it. I think it has to do with a chemist. Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman, but it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality. You know, I tend to like going into my book club books blind and give like an honest review of it. So we'll see what this one's about, but I can't wait to chat with my book club about this in a few weeks, so I do probably have to read this soon. That is the second TBR pile of when I went on a massive book buying binge, and just last week, I think, no, 2 weeks ago, I went on my final book buying binge, the third and final part of this TBR list. Oh no, the sun is gonna be really bad. What if I moved here? I probably picked the worst possible time to film because the sun, oh, it's not that bad. The lighting looks fine right now, but in 2 seconds, when the sun moves, it's gonna be awful again. But this final TBR book pile, let me tell you a story. So I got lunch with a friend that I grew up with in high school because her mom is coming out with a book and she wanted to give me a copy to read, and that put me in a book buying mood, and I went to Half Price Books after and bought more books. I think some of these might actually be from, no, yeah, these are all from Half Price Books. Gets me every time because it seems cheaper, but it's still like $9 for a book. Anyway, my friend from high school, her mom recently published her first book. It's called Everyday Awakening by Katherine Duncan. It is so cool. I got to hear her story a little bit. My friend was telling me about, you know, her mom's publishing and writing journey and how this book really came to be, and I cannot wait to read it. It hits close to home too because I do feel connected to the author in a way. It's just a parent of someone that I grew up with, so you feel closer to them. She was really sweet, and her mom even signed my book for me. So I'm really excited to read this. It just looks amazing. It's definitely one of those spiritual self-improvement, self-help books. 5 practices for living fully, feeling deeply, and coming into your heart and soul. In a fast-paced, turbulent world, it's often hard to feel vibrantly alive. Constantly living from our minds has led to overwhelming feelings of stress, anxiety, and depression, often manifesting as chronic health conditions. Everyday Awakening integrates the best of spirituality, neuroscience, psychology, and therapy so that you can change how you embrace every day, every moment, and every choice. Drawing from decades of her personal and professional experience in healthcare, spiritual care, and complementary healing, Katherine Duncan offers a wealth of options, including breathwork, meditations, grounding rituals, and other exercises for bringing each of the 5 practices into your daily life. You will begin to move from stress to presence from your mind into your heart and soul. Your everyday awakening is right in front of you. I cannot wait to read this. It sounds right up my alley. Like, regardless as to if I had a connection with the author and her family, I feel like I would still be very drawn to this book because it is in that genre of books that I just want to read so badly. Like, I will eat this up, and it seems like the perfect book to start this new year with and has a lot of cool lessons. So I do want to read this, I think, in January, just as like a good yearly refresher. But huge thank you to Adria and her mom, Katherine. I'm so grateful. Definitely check this book out. It will be linked down below. Yeah, it's just so cool. Like, publishing a book is like such a dream and accomplishment that I think a lot of people have, including myself. So I do think it's really cool to see that come to life, and I just want to support that as much as I can. Then I went to Half Price Books after that lunch with Adria where she gave me that book, and I bought more books. Jodi Picoult, A Spark of Light. Jodi Picoult is one of my favorite contemporary fiction writers. Like, she is a guilty pleasure. I've read all of her books. I love her style of storytelling. Her protagonist jumps and the twists. Her stories are so good. And for a long time, she was like the only fiction that I would read. I believe Spark of Light is one of her newer releases, 2019. So I have not read this one yet. This storyline really caught my attention. There's a women's reproductive health service clinic that a gunman walks into one day, open fires, and takes hostages. And then one of the police hostage negotiators teenage daughter is in this health clinic. I'm sure there are a lot of like high controversy topics included in here in terms of like just like the women's healthcare system and like police and guns and all that. Jodi Picoult usually does a really great job with this type of work, so this is definitely gonna be like a juicy little guilty pleasure for me when I get to it. But I also found Lucy Foley's The Guest List at Half Price Books as well. Lucy Foley is another like thriller writer, I believe, that I want to try. The only like thriller writers that I've read is Gillian Flynn and Riley Sager. So I'll try The Guest List. I've heard great things, and then if I like her writing, then I can buy some of her other works, like The Paris Apartment is the one that I've seen a lot. I like the concept where she just tells you like the potential suspects, the bride, the plus one, the best man, the wedding planner, the bridesmaid, all have a secret, all have a motive, but only one is a murderer, and they have to figure out obviously who did it. Love it. This is gonna be such a good escape. This new release I am so excited about. I really wanted to read this one around Halloween, but the unfortunate side effects of heartbreak and magic. First of all, let's appreciate this cover. Isn't it so pretty? It says on the back that it is for fans of practical magic and Gilmore Girls. So just imagine like the fall essence here of a Gilmore Girls vibe in this like magic realism fiction work. Heartbreaking and enchanting. Readers will want to climb into this book and never leave. Sadie has always believed that the curse of 4 heartbreaks that accompanies her magic would be worth the price, but when her grandmother is diagnosed with cancer with only weeks to live and her first heartbreak, Jake McNeely, returns to town after a decade, her carefully structured life begins to unravel. There might be a rekindling romance in here, but I'm excited for the magic part. It looks so good. Definitely a good fall read. Gosh, I wish I was able to read more in October, but I just had to take a break in order to catch up and get myself set up to make book videos, but here we are. I also saw the Lonely Hearts book club novel by Lucy Gilmore there. This book has been on my TBR or to buy list really for a while. I saw this at Barnes & Noble a while back and really wanted it, but obviously Barnes & Noble is so expensive. So when I saw it at Half Price Books, I was like, I'm gonna try it. I've heard of Lucy Gilmore before. I don't know, it just looks good. Like, it looks like a good little book club book. Sloane Parker lives in a small contained life as a librarian in her small contained town. Sloane creates an impromptu book club. Slowly, the lonely misfits of their sleepy town begin to find one another, and in their book club, they find the joy of unlikely friendship. Because as it turns out, everyone has a special book in their heart and a reason to get lost and eventually found within the pages. I think it's gonna be really cute. I think I was in like a book club bookish mood this day because I also bought The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. I've never heard of this author, I've never heard of this book, but I was very drawn to it when I saw it. It sounds like this book is about a only child who grew up with just her and her mom, who's kind of just like lonely and in her introverted shell, discovering who her dad is and that her dad has like a whole family, and so now she has discovered sisters and brothers, nieces and nephews, and she's horrified. It's time for Nina to come out of her comfortable shell, but she is not convinced real life could ever live up to fiction. It is going to take a brand new family, a persistent suitor, and a combined effect of ice cream and trivia to make her turn her own page. It sounds really cute, so we'll see how this book is. All right, I got some palette cleansers at Half Price Books. This is where I usually pick them up. We have Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. There's a thick plot on the back of this, so we'll see, but like I mentioned, I like going into Colleen Hoover's books kind of blind. I don't hear too much about this one, but she's written a lot of books, so I will definitely let you know. I want to eventually do like a tier ranking of all of Colleen Hoover's books because, as like I mentioned, some of them just like weren't for me. There were a couple that I actually didn't mind and had like a good little escapism read. The next Colleen Hoover book I bought is Too Late, and I was really excited for this one because it looks like Verity and it looks like it could actually be good. And then someone on BookTube said that she didn't like this book at all, and she's read a lot of Colleen Hoover books, so that like left an impression in me of this book already, and it gave me like an expectation, unfortunately. I don't know, a psychological suspense novel of obsession and dangerous love. It sounds good. I'm excited to try it. Sloane will go through hell and back for those that she loves. Undercover DEA agent. It looks good. I feel like this is gonna be a cozy winter read. I mean, it would have made a really good fall read, but you've seen my TBR. There's a lot here. I don't think I'll get to it this fall. I'm so glad that I found this next book at Half Price Books. I did not expect it to be there, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, I've got to get it. It is Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died memoir. This one just came out last year. I feel like everyone's very familiar with it, but it is a memoir on her time on, you know, Nickelodeon, TV, the industry, and how her mom basically took advantage of that. I think she's really gonna deep dive into some of the darker sides of Hollywood that a lot of us were unaware of. I mean, she never refers to Dan Schneider in this, but we all know that it's him. I have been down that rabbit hole for years, especially on Tumblr back in the day. There was like a lot of talk about him and a lot of rumors, and I mean, we've seen the video clips on TikToks. The fact that there are some creators that literally took money as part of a deal to never talk about him is insane. And we all know Ariana Grande, I mean, allegedly, all of this is alleged. Yeah, I'm really excited to read this book. Like I've mentioned, I love memoirs. I have a ton of them. I feel like it's really important to give memoirs your attention and time because that is somebody's actual like story, and I haven't bought it yet, but I do really want to read Matthew Perry's memoir. I think a lot of us do after what happened this week. I'm heartbroken, completely shattered by the news, and it's very, very, very sad. I feel even worse that the majority of us didn't even know that he had a memoir. It's the least I feel like I can do now to read it, but that's another memoir I really want to read as well. We're down to the final book, and this is an exciting one, and I cannot believe I saw this at Half Price Books. Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult. Now, the reason I could not pass this book up is because not only is this a first edition, it is a signed first edition. And like I've mentioned, I love Jodi Picoult so much, favorite author. I've written to her before, she's amazing. So to get a signed book by her, to go on my designated, dedicated Jodi Picoult bookshelf where I have all of her books, best day ever. I think this might be her most recent release. I feel like it's always really hard to explain the plot of a Jodi Picoult novel until you're deep in it, because there's usually so many subplots and twists and things that you don't see coming that it's hard to figure it out just by the... I like don't even want to spoil it because there's like already a death mentioned that happens on the back, but I love the way that she tells stories, and this is a signed book, so I'm really, really, really excited for this one. Okay, how's the lighting? Can I come back? Those are all of the books on my current TBR list. So I have a hefty 40 books to read list currently of everything that I've recently bought, and this is why I cannot buy any more books right now. I want to get through all of these first, but I felt like this would be the perfect first booktube video just to introduce kind of books that I want to read and some taste of what I like to read embedded into this. But I'll do like a full book tag video introduction as well. I feel like that will be good just to understand like my reading taste and preferences. And then I also want to do a book tour, bookshelf, how I organize, style, and store my books and kind of all the books that I own, because my home is filled with plants, books, crystals, and cats. I am the type that cannot borrow a book. I need to keep it, especially when I really love the story. So I have so many books in my home that I cannot wait to show you, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe. I want to make more book videos like I've mentioned, and follow my book Instagram, Goodreads. Every book mentioned is down below. Check it out. Let me know what you're currently reading, and if you've read any of these books, I would love to hear it. But again, please try not to spoil anything for me. I'm really excited to start making more book videos. I haven't felt this like energetic passion in content creation in a while, so this feels really fresh. It feels really meant to be. Like, this is what I want to do right now. It just sounds like a dream come true. So I hope you enjoy. I'll see you real soon in my next video. Bye!